Britain is readying to lead NATO against the Russians. Thousands of troops ready to deploy in Estonia in a new pact between Britain and Estonia. Guys, all these things are coming true. What I've been saying are going to happen for the last, months, or maybe even last 12 months. So it's come out now in a few statements from John Healey that there are, well, let's just go into this article, guys, because I want to keep this video short and get the information to you guys so you can go about the rest of your day safe in the knowledge of what's coming. So this article here then, guys, thousands of troops placed on standby to defend against Estonia. To defend Estonia against Russia under new pact. Now, guys, what are the few things that I've been saying? NATO's obsolete. It's over. It's finished. There's going to have to be new pacts. There's going to have to be new treaties signed. Well, here we start to see them being signed. Remember, I did a video earlier saying Zelensky's talking about a global war. People are talking about this global war, guys. Years ago, when I said we're like in 2022, I said, look, I said to my friends in Ukraine, I said to people and on a personal scale, I said, look, there's no way back now. There's too many there's too many weeds growing. There's too many trees growing in the weeds. There's no way back. We are heading to a global conflict of an industrial scale. People are starting to talk about it now. People are starting to say, yeah, right. Well, if we're all fighting and we're all firing missiles at each other all over the world, is that a world war? Yeah, guys, trust me, it is. So I'm going to share this. I'm sharing this article with you because it's quite funny. It is probably the worst written article I have ever had to go through. I had to really think about who's writing this and is English even their first language? But anyway, we'll go with it and I'll explain what it means. So I'll put other articles about this in the description, guys, but we'll go with it because it's a little bit of humor. Thousands of UK troops placed on standby to defend against defend Estonia against the Russian and the new pact. Now, think about this from the Russian perspective. Thousands of British troops on Estonian border ready to, do you know what I mean? When we put placing troops and in our country, we say, oh, they're going there to defend Estonia. And then the Russians see all these troops build up and they say, oh, they're putting troops on the border. Right, we need to put troops on the border as well. And then it comes back in British media, Russians are gearing up for an invasion into Estonia. We need to put, you see the escalations, and these wars happen by accident. Thousands of UK troops will be put on standby to deploy to Estonian border in new pact agreement Britain has signed. Now, this is what I don't understand. Soldiers in one of the army's ranks, I don't know what that means. What, are we just sending corporals? Are we just sending privates? What does that mean? Will be held at high readiness in order to defend NATO's eastern flank with Russia under new cooperation agreement John Healey will sign with his Estonian counterpart. So you see, guys, there's this move away from NATO. How long ago did I say? I read to you, I printed out the NATO agreement articles, I think it's 1 through to 9. I went through them and I read to you guys what was relevant. Guys, they're not worth the paper they're written on. The announcement comes as Mr. Healey, so John Healey, he's the defense minister for the United Kingdom, meets with fellow NATO defense ministers in Brussels on Thursday as the war in Ukraine rumbles on. Rumbles on? What does rumble on? Coffee machines rumble. Like bombs, nuclear weapons, long-range ballistic missiles, small arms fire. That doesn't rumble. At the meeting, John Healey is expected to agree plans. Here we go, guys. Here we are, to lead the new Diamond Initiative. Remember, guys, right? The United Kingdom will lead what's left of NATO, the Europeans, whatever this is going to be realigned as. But the United Kingdom will lead in, whether it's NATO, whether it's a new alliance, whether it's a variation of pact, but whatever it is in that region, the United Kingdom will take the lead role. So this new Diamond Initiative, which is delivering integrated air and missile operational networked defenses. So they're calling it Diamond. I guess they took a long time to think of that. aimed at integrating NATO member states' missile defences while also delivering new long-range weapons. So this is what you can see this war. It's going to be a bit of a crappy war. It's going to be a bit of a gay war whereby we're just firing missiles at each other. And, you know, what we need to do is get infantry involved. It will be over really quickly. You know, the West will win. But guess what? Not many people will make much money with missile sales. Right, and then they're talking about, you know, deploying the Army's most advanced tanks, the Challenger 3. Guys, you know, we're going to come to a situation very soon where we're going to find out whether the most expensive, most advanced tanks are better than a lot of tanks. Right now, the ground is, you know, this thing is really, you know, the ground is very, the ground dictates your movement. And if you've seen how the Challengers have been operated in Ukraine, a lot of them have been stuck. A lot of them have been bugged in. Now, you can argue, and I would accept that argument, that the Ukrainians are not really well trained on the Challengers. They don't know how to use the Challengers. So I will accept that, you know, I will accept that argument. But, and it's a big but. But what we've seen is the use of these small drones. And I don't think there's a defense for them at the moment. Check my video I did earlier on. I'll put a link at the end of this. Sorry, I'll put a link to that video at the end of this video. There's no defense against these drones, guys. And this made me laugh here, guys, as well. Some 1,000 British troops are already deployed in Estonia. If 4th Brigade troops, who are specialists in operating in Estonia's Baltic terrain, what does that mean? Literally, what does that mean? How do you become a specialist in Estonia's Baltic terrain? It's nonsense. Whoever's wrote this article, like, they must be about 15 on work experience or something. There's no course in the military. Right, guys, yeah, all close in, yeah. Who's doing the Estonian Baltic terrain course? It doesn't work like that, guys. Courses in the military don't work like that. It's absurd. You do climates, you do biomes, so you're thinking like desert warfare, you know, Arctic warfare, you know, biomes with vast differences. Estonia's Baltic terrain, you're using the same tactics that you use in Senebridge. You're using the same tactics that you use in the United Kingdom. Yes, it gets colder. Yes, it gets, you know, it gets hotter in the, you know, in the summer. But is there a difference in tactics? Absolutely not. So I don't know where this person has got this from. Could be sent alongside helicopters and rocket launchers. What does that mean? What is a rocket launcher? Guys, there's no, like, what do we mean a rocket launcher? Are we talking light anti-tank weapons? Are we talking NLAWs? Are we talking javelins? Are we talking, you know, good old-fashioned 66s? What does that even mean? Rocket launchers. Does it mean the helicopters will be, you know, will have rocket pods on them? It's absurd. The person who has written this article must be about 15 on work experience, and English is not their first language. But, you know, I'm not going to judge. It is what it is. I'm getting you the information. I'm telling you what they mean. Yeah, so they're talking about this Boxer as well. Remember, the Boxer vehicle, that's never been tested in combat. Guys, you know, I think well, I'll come on to that afterwards. And then down here, this made me laugh. These announcements reinforce our contribution to the NTO Alliance. I don't know what the NTO Alliance is. Must be a new one, guys. You know, I was talking about the new alliances. There must be a new alliance now, and it's just called NTO. They must be missing. I don't know. It's absolutely wild. We are working closely with our partners to develop advanced defensive blah, blah, blah. Right, we'll come off this now. So what does this all mean then, guys? What does this all mean for global conflict, World War III of an industrial scale? It's kind of just confirmation of what I've been saying. You know, the United Kingdom will lead whatever's left of NATO or NTO, like these guys are saying, or whatever the new alliance says, whatever it is, it's basically going to be Europe without input from the United States. And we are going to have to fight the Russians in eastern Ukraine. Now, whether the Russians whether they manage to do this multi-pronged attack and get up to the Dnipro, or whether they can get to Pokrovsk or wherever they push to, doesn't really matter at this point. What matters is the next phase will be this Russian push. Then there will be lots of talk, and then this NATO training mission into Ukraine will go ahead. That will free up a load of troops from the, from the west of Ukraine. Those troops that are in the west of Ukraine, covering the northern border, covering, a rear guard, basically. Those troops can then go fight in the east. With training, guys, comes operational mentoring. Operational mentoring is actually going out on the ground with those guys and conducting operations. So that's what's going to happen. That's going to be the next phase. You'll get a phase where but remember mission creep, mission slip. This is what happens. Remember, there's never going to be wars. There's never going to be deployments. There are always going to be limited military incursions, special military operations, training missions. Well, it doesn't really matter how you claim it is. If it looks like a war, smells like a war, sounds like a war, people are coming back in these long black things that have got a zip on them, it's kind of a war. So the NATO military assistance mission in Ukraine, they will deploy into Ukraine. They will deploy with a strict, on the tin, it will be a strictly, they won't be able to go over the River Dnipro. We know this is happening because when the Americans went in there I don't mean American troops, I mean advisors from the embassies. When they went in there and the war was raging, they were not allowed to go over the Dnipro. So the River Dnipro, for those of you who don't know, is the river that basically comes down the whole of Ukraine. I was speaking to some of the Americans out there, and they're saying, "Yeah, man, we're not allowed to go over the Dnipro." I said, "How did you get here?" He said, "We flew in." I said, "Where did you land?" He said, "We landed in Borispol." I said, "But Borispol's the other side of the river." "Yeah, I know, man. It's wild." So it's just insane. You get all this bureaucracy and this flim-flammer, and then you get politicians trying to, I don't know. It's coming, guys. There really isn't any way around it. The jokes of this video was the United Kingdom is leading NATO. It's going to lead whatever's left of NATO, whatever that's called, whatever that pact treaty is. We've got this diamond defense, missile defense, thousands of troops ready to deploy. Look at this from both sides of this argument. Look at this from both sides, guys. Just take a step back and think, right, how are the Russians perceiving this? The Russians are perceiving a mass buildup of troops on one of their borders. That's what they're perceiving, because that's what's happening. Now, here in the United Kingdom, where, these are defensive troops, these are defensive systems, and that's fine, whatever. From the Russian, remember, the reality doesn't matter. It's the perception of the reality that matters. From the Russian side of it, there's a huge buildup of troops, logistics, and manpower. Okay, so what are the Russians going to do to counter that? Because the Russians don't want to get invaded. So the Russians are going to counter that with their own troops, logistics, manpower, helicopters, and, capacity. So then the West are going to see this, and they're going to see this as a provocation. So they put more troops in there. Guys, this doesn't end well for anyone. Anyway, guys, I'm going to mag to grid. I'll get you guys another video later.